Welcome to this short instructional webinar about the Keystone provided mini-grant Click and Read. This quick Get Started tutorial will be divided into two sections. The first part will be about the Click and Read Phonics online program, and the second part will be about Click and Spell. I'm Deb Henkes, Instructional Technology Consultant for Keystone AEA1, and I'm also the coordinator of this mini-grant. I'll be guiding you through this tutorial, but before we get started, I just want to give you a little contact information. If you have any questions about this tutorial, about the Click and Read, Click and Spell programs, if you need additional students, pricing, anything, just email us, give us a call. We'll be glad to help. I'd just like to share with you a little bit of information about the mini-grant itself before we get started with the tutorial. First of all, to find information about the application, the mini-grant, and additional help, you can go to our website at www.aea1.k12.ia.us and then go to the school technology link. In that drop down, just scroll down to mini grants and other grants, and here you'll see the Click and Read Phonics icon. When you click on that, you'll see additional information. Here's the flyer, the application in either PDF or Word, the Click and Read member login link, and that's an important one. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the tutorial, and a little check your computer system requirements to see if the program will work on the equipment that you have. Now, I also want to mention one thing about these mini grants. You need to apply for the mini grant every year because it tells us which teachers are going to be involved, how many licenses you'll need, and so on. Now, I would just like to mention one difference between the Click and Read Phonics mini grant and the other mini grants that Keystone provides, and that is with Click and Read Phonics you can purchase licenses or add additional students anytime throughout the school year. With the other mini grants, there is a deadline for purchasing. And that's one thing that's different about the Click and Read Phonics program. And also remember, throughout the school year, if you need additional teachers added, you need a few additional licenses, don't hesitate to contact us and let us know. We'd always be glad to help. So let's get started with part one of the tutorial about Click and Read Phonics. The URL for the ClickNKids program is www.clicknkids.com. One of the first things that you will need to do once you get to the ClickNKids site is to make sure you go to this login link, and on each device that your students are going to be using, on each computer, you want to make sure that that is bookmarked or added as a favorite so that the kids are accessing and entering the program through the login rather than doing a Google search and then clicking on the sponsored link on the Google search list. The reason for this is the way that Google makes their money is through the sponsored links. Every time you do a Google search and you click on that sponsored link, Google is billing the company for a certain amount of money. In order for us to keep our price, our negotiated price, at the level that it is, we have to keep costs down for the company as much as we can, and this is one way that we can do that. Now, once you have that login bookmarked or made a favorite or have showed your students or know how your students are going to access that, you will need to know your login username and password. Usually at the beginning of August, what will happen is for every teacher who has sent in an application for this coming school year, you will get an email, probably from Marcy Bauer, with your username, password, and then the setup password information, as well as the number of licenses you requested for this coming school year. If you are a user, if you've used the program in the past, your username and password is not going to change. So just make sure that you check your email to, especially if you're a new user, to find your username and password, or if you've forgotten it, check your email. If you can't find it in your email, just call us, send us an email, and we will get that information to you. So I am going to go ahead and log in. And then this will be the login screen. Now the students or you will log into this site for the students to get to their lessons, and I will show you that in a minute. This is how everybody logs into the site. Once you or the students use that username and password to log in, you'll either click Run Lessons for Click and Read Phonics or Run Lessons for Click and Spell Phonics. But one thing that you will need to do at the beginning of each year is to add your students to the program. So like I said, in the email you will get that setup password sent to you. If you don't remember what it is, or if you've changed it and you want to know what it is, just like I said, send us an email. So I'm going to go ahead and click, and I'm going to enter the setup password so I can get down here and add some new students to the program. So I entered the password, I'm going to click submit, and now I have either the option of Run Lessons, and I have access to this navigation menu, and the first thing I'm going to do is go over here and go to Student Setup. Okay, now when you look at this, there's a couple of things that you need to be aware of. The first one here is that list, the menu of other options that you have that you can work on. For example, there's adult worksheets that you can print out. There are lesson practice sentences and practice words you can also print out. You can preview lessons. Here are the reports. We'll talk about those in just a little bit. But let's talk about now adding a new student. Okay, so I'm going to scroll up just a little bit. I want to mention this little section right here. It says auto logout, and there's a little box. If you check that, what happens is you log in a student runs the lesson. As soon as they're done, it automatically logs them out, and you have to put in the username and password to get back in. So I would recommend that most people leave that unchecked. Just know that if maybe that's an option you want, just know that if you check that, that's what will happen. If you leave this unchecked, when a student gets done with the program, it will just go back to the main screen and another student can choose their name from the list. So I would recommend leaving auto logout unchecked. Over here on the right, you'll see Click and Read Phonics. It tells you how many students you have available and how many licenses you are using for either Click and Read Phonics or Click and Spell if you've also purchased licenses for Click and Spell. Okay? And then I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. This is a student that is already in the lesson or added to the program, and the options are delete the student from all the programs, remove just from Click and Read, remove just from Click and Spell, and the section right here shows which lesson they're on. Now say for example you are doing the TH sound next week and you know that that is lesson 18. You can move students around as needed or move them back to practice a lesson, and that's where you do that for both Click and Spell and Click and Read. And then you can also change the word duration, the letter duration, and the playback speed. Now, these settings just refer to the speed chamber settings in Click and Read Phonics. For more information about exactly what that means, just scroll down a little bit and it will tell you exactly what word duration and letter duration means. And that's the playback time for the letter sound and the word review exercises, between 1 and 10 minutes. 1 minute is a pretty long time. For some students you may need to change that a little bit, but probably not. And then the playback speed for the speed chamber is the default is set to medium. You can change that also if you want it to be a little faster or slower. The other option that you have right here is the That's Right button. At the very frequently throughout the program there's a little character that says, "Good job, that's right," and so on. That gets a little bit annoying. If you want to uncheck that, you can. So how do students access the lessons? Well, because we've already logged in and we're in the teacher setup session, you can just click right here to click on Run Lessons, which is that main screen you see when you log in, just when we first logged in before, and then click on Run Lessons, and then what you will see is a list of the students who have already been entered into the program. So you see I have my two students here. I have Patrick and SpongeBob. Now the average lesson is about 15 to 20 minutes long, and the lessons are divided up into 4 parts. There's the letter sound chamber, the listening cube, the reading room, and the speed chamber. There are 100 lessons, with each lesson getting progressively harder as more and more lessons are completed. And one thing I'll say about using the lesson, like I said, it's about a 15 to 20 minute lesson depending on how quickly the student works. If there's a fire drill and you have to, everybody has to go out of the building, there is a timeout. It's a pretty long time, but if the student is timed out for too long during a lesson, if they're not doing anything, the next time it will log them out, and then the next time they go in to work on a lesson, it will start them off at the very beginning. It doesn't save where the students left off. And you can see here with Patrick, he's just getting started. You can see a little number 1 right here. He's just getting started on number 1. SpongeBob is working on lesson number 2. So I'm going to go ahead and I think I'll just click on SpongeBob to get started, and you can see why you might need earbuds or headphones for your students.
Hey, ClickNKid here. Welcome to lesson number 2. Let's get started. The letter sound that we will learn today is the sound that S makes. The S makes the S sound, as in sun. Remember, when you hear the sound for a letter, you point and click on it. Ah. You got it.
So this is how what it looks like as the lesson gets started. The little guy over here will say a sound, and if the student needs it repeated, there's a little button down here on the bottom left. You can click repeat the sound, and then the student can click on the correct sound. Say the student clicks the wrong
Try
one.
again. When you hear the sound for a letter, you point and click on it. S.
Okay.
Try again. When you hear the sound for a letter, you point and click on it. S.
What happens is it just repeats that same thing over and over. And then the lesson progresses. I'm not going to go through the whole thing right now. As you go through it, you'll see how it works. I'm just going to click and go down here to Menu. Menu will take you back to the list of students, and then there's also a button up here that will take you back to the home, which is the main screen, so you can click between Click and Read Phonics or Click and Spell. The menu button from within Click and Read will take you back to your original list of students, whereas the home button will take you back to the choice between Click and Read Phonics or Click and Spell. When a student has completed a lesson, they will see this screen. And unless they see this screen, their lesson has not been completed, and the next time they log in, they'll have to start over. Now, one of the things it says on the screen is to print a report. If students want to have that printed, you have to do it now, because I don't know that you can find that again once you close out of the screen. Let's take a look at some of the reports that are provided for students using the Click and Read and ClickNKids programs. Remember, I went to that login site and didn't Google it. So just give me a second to log in. Remember, this is how you will log in for your students, or how your students will log in, and then this is how they either get to the Click and Read Phonics or Click and Read Spell program. But we need to go into the teacher section, so you'll need to know your setup password. And then once you're in there, I'm just going to start by clicking on Progress Reports. And I am going to select, so all of my students who have done anything in the program will show up here. I'm going to select SpongeBob. He's done a little bit of work so far. And what you'll see so far is I will see the date and time that he's been working, how many lessons he's completed. There's a little tutorial here on how to read this report, and if he has multiple lessons done, you can select a lesson to look at. This is kind of the cumulative section that shows everything that he's been doing. And it also shows the letter sound and what number of lesson that letter sound is presented to the students in. So, like, for example, if you are getting ready to do the SH or a particular sound, you can always bump all your students up to, for example, for SH lessons 34 or 36, if that's what you you're doing in your classroom so that it follows along with what they're learning in class. Then I'm going to scroll down a little bit. One of the things it says is one of the pieces of information in this report is the correct first attempt percentage, and it shows for this student, for this teacher, which means all of your students, and then all users. That shows the correct first percentage attempt for all the users using this program worldwide forever, and how many times the words were presented to them. Now if you scroll down just a little bit, you get basically some of the same information for Click and Spell. And again, there's a little link that you can click on that will give you information about how to read the report. So the reports are pretty basic, pretty simple, just kind of quickly let you know where they're at, how they're doing, what they need help on, and so on. Now I'm going to go to the usage report. That also gives you a little bit of information about, it just is a quick list of your students who are in the particular, either Click and Read Phonics or Click and Spell, what lesson they're on. It's just a quick snapshot of how many lessons they've completed, their current lesson, how much time they spend per week, how many weeks they've been working on it, first used, and last date used. Now, another thing that I don't think that I've mentioned so far in this webinar is that the Click and Read program, the license that you are purchasing through Keystone AEA, is intended to be a school-only license. Even though this particular program is online, you can access it from anywhere. Our agreement with the Click and Read program is that it's intended for school usage. And if you have any questions about that, please contact us and we can talk about that particular situation a little bit more. Okay, let's take a look at the Click and Spell section of Click and Read. Your students are going to access Click and Spell exactly the same way that they access Click and Read Phonics. You'll log in with your username and password, and as long as you have your students already set up, they're good to go. So they'll just, either you can click Run Lessons or the students can click on Run Lesson, and that will take them to a screen that displays all the students who are enrolled into the program. Now, Click and Spell is intended for students in grades pre-K through 5th grade. It teaches the 800 most commonly used words in the English language, and it has 3 sections. The Spelling Station, where students learn 8 new words with each lesson. The Practice Pod, where students practice the 8 new words they've learned with that lesson. And then a piece called the Testing Terrace. And that only pops up, for example, every 5th lesson, students will have a pop quiz on 10 random words that they've been learning in those levels. And then at the end of the 5th word list level, they'll have a leveled test that is presented to the kids. The level test includes 20 words that are randomly selected from the entire current level that they're working on. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and get started with SpongeBob. You can see he's on lesson 2.
Welcome to Click and Spell. My name is Cosmo Cat, and we are going to learn to spell words together. Are you ready? Let's jet on over to the spelling station and get started. Streaky. Nice paint job. This must be rush hour traffic. Woo! Whoa! On time as usual. Circular. Woohoo!
Now, you can skip this intro. See this little skip intro button, but we're almost there.
Welcome
so.
to lesson 2. Oh,
and kids like this.
TV screen? Are you in here? Where are you?
Silly dog.
It's time to learn to spell some more words. Knowing how to spell words is really important, and it's a lot of fun. It's time to get started, so pay attention. Are you ready? Remember, I'm going to say each word and use it in a sentence. Then you will spell the word. You can look at the word if you need to on the screen. Then I will take the word away and you will spell it again. Spell, book. My grandmom reads me my favorite book.
Okay, and then this is where the kids are required to type in the word.
That's right. Spell, book.
Okay, and now the students are required to remember how that word is spelled, and they can go down here and click repeat the word or repeat the sentence.
Great job. Spell, box. Jose shared his box of crayons.
Okay, so what happens if a student spells something wrong?
That's incorrect. Let's start again. Spell, box. Jose shared his box of crayons.
And you can see it just has the student repeat that word. It doesn't intuitively learn from the mistakes that the student is making.
Correct. Spell, box. Good. Spell, boy.
Okay, so I think you get
My mom says I'm a smart boy.
the general idea here. I'm just going to go ahead and click on the menu to get out of this. It works basically, it looks very similar to Click and Read, very much the same. It's just a little bit different content. So and here I am now back at that same screen. And in this particular case, right down at the bottom, you'll see there's a little red highlighted words down here that says that the lesson was interrupted, it wasn't actually completed. Just as in Click and Read, in Click and Spell, in order for your students to totally complete a level, to have it be saved so that the next time they log in, they're ready to start at the next level, they need to see this screen to make sure that the lesson has been saved. Okay, the tutorial is almost finished. To wrap up, I'd like to talk a little bit about some frequently asked questions and a few more tips to be aware of. First of all, both Click and Spell and Click and Read are Flash-based programs. So if you're using it on an iPad, you need to use a Flash-enabled browser such as Puffin, Photon, or Rover. Now the other issue to be aware of is when you're in a co-teaching situation, there's no easy way in this program currently for multiple teachers to collaboratively access individual student accounts. For example, if teacher A has SpongeBob added to her account and teacher B has SpongeBob added to his or her account, the program recognizes those as two different students. So I guess the best way around that is for one teacher to share the username and password for student access with co-teachers. Also, you can begin using this program with your students from late August, from pretty much the time you get the email from us with your username and password through July of the next school year. Remember, both the Click and Read Phonics and Click and Spell programs are school licenses and are intended to be used in the school only. And finally, if you have any additional questions, you need help with usernames or passwords, you need more student accounts, just be sure and contact us. We're here to help. Thank you for making it to the end of this webinar.